Viewer discretion is advised. The following content may contain material that some viewers find disturbing or offensive. While we strive to create content that is informative and engaging, the topics discussed today touch upon sensitive subjects. We believe in open discussion and exploring complex themes, but we also understand that certain content can be challenging for some individuals. Your well-being is our priority. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to click away. We encourage you to proceed with caution and take care of yourself. For those who choose to continue, thank you for joining us in this important conversation. We appreciate your viewership and encourage you to follow our channel for more thought-provoking content.
Under my command, your Western leaders, and I'm ordering them to start a global nuclear war, so my son, the Antichrist, can rule under my command, and the past 5 presidents welcome to my kingdom. We invoke the eternal darkness. By this sacred skull we pledge our souls. To the powers unseen we offer our will. Let the shadows bind us forever.
Black wind crawls the western halls, with wax and smoke on golden walls. A shadow signs with a poisoned pen and calls the old debts back again. 5 old masks in a velvet line speak of crowns like broken wine. The tower hums in a buried key and locks its teeth around the sea. Hear that choir under stone. Names turn ash in the undertow. The gates swing wide, the candles burn. Night takes the oath and starts to win. Black throne, it calls them home. Black throne, the world turns bone. Hell on the wire, fire in the bone. Black throne, it calls them home. A red seal drips from the chapel door on the maps of ash and the iron floor. The trumpets choke on 1,000 cries while the moon cuts glass through deadened eyes. I saw the pale smoke over the plain like ruined prayers in a hurricane, and every crown in the midnight air fell like a curse with a final glare. Hear that choir under stone. Names turn ash in the undertow. The gates swing wide, the candles burn. Night takes the oath and starts to win. Black throne, it calls them home. Black throne, the world turns bone. Hell on the wire, fire in the bone. Black throne, it calls them home. The seal, the old world splits, the wound is real. Tremble now, the hour is near, when iron prayer becomes the fear. Black throne,
Behold, the power I command. This fire is my will, made manifest. No force can stand against me. I am the ruler of this new world. Boom! 10 principles to save America. First, secure our borders, no excuses. Second, America first, no more endless wars. Third, free speech for all. Fourth, fair trade, not free trade. Fifth, end the corruption, drain the swamp. 6 through 10, family, faith, and prosperity. Join us, save America.
You got one! The rumor was they were preparing an America First third-party run. Now Joe Kent, we have a newscast clip of this we'll play in a moment, has come out and said, indeed, that is the plan, and that is what is being set up and being prepared. Now, first off, in general, our system's not set up like a parliamentary system, so if you get a third party, that will tend to just drag from one of the parties, not both, so it could be a spoiler for Republicans. But when you're in this big a crisis, I overall support it, because if the Republicans are ignoring the Tea Party and the populists that had built the beachhead there and were taking control of it, this is a way to get them back and honest to their roots, so they can't just sit there and do unpopular things. Then we lose regardless at the midterms and in the general election coming up. And when you've got people like reportedly in the wings, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and of course Tucker, MTG, Joe Kent, Thomas Massey involved, that is a dream team of people. And they're American citizens, and they have a right to launch a third America First party. And so there's not any rumors about this anymore. Tucker has now put out a 10-point manifesto dialing in what they would do with this new America First third party. So let's look at it. There's 10 points. Be fair. The same rules should apply to the presidents, federal agents, and such elites as Jeffrey Epstein, whose impunity. Carlson cast an emblematic of the Epstein class, enriching itself through a corrupt system and being above the law. Number 2, sovereignty. Carlson claimed that Israel pushes the U.S. into the Iran war through bribery or threat of both, while describing foreign lobbying corporations and controlling government and high-interest debt as forms of slavery. Tomorrow I'll actually read his actual manifesto. This is Axios' breakdown of it. Number 3, productive. America should rebuild farming, manufacturing, and craftsmanship while rejecting an economy dominated by finance, real estate speculation, surveillance systems, and weapons. Number 4, beautiful. Carlson argued that the urban planners deliberately uglified, that's declassified, the CIA did, American cities and portrayed brutalist architecture, graffiti, public drug use, and violent crime as deliberate attacks on the public. I'm actually going to go over this tomorrow on air, maybe even today in a special report, and then back up each piece with documents, because it's all true. Number 5, be healthy. Carlson embraced RFK Jr.'s food agenda, calling the universal sobriety, and said widespread use of drugs such as Xanax, Adderall, and SSRIs has left Americans half-addled. I agree with that. Number 6, be honest. Government officials should be punished for lying to citizens, and most classified records, including JFK assassination, 9/11, should be opened. Number 7, optimistic. Carlson argued that having children is a biological imperative and the foundation of long-term thinking, while blaming aging and childless elites for policies that disregard future generations. Yeah, they're anti-natalist, anti-human, with all the big think tanks pushing for getting rid of people. Number 8, be wise. Schools should teach how the physical world actually works and what he called unchanging facts about human nature, including innate differences between men and women rather than credentials, screens, and technological fads. Number 9, dissent. The U.S. should apologize and pay restitution for killing non-combatants, reverse Trump's Department of War, rebrand, and stop funding allies that commit what Carlson called genocide, citing Israel. Number 10, united. Carlson called for halting immigration until the effects of AI become clear, ending benefits for undocumented immigrants, and making English the sole language of federal documents and ballots. I'll read the actual manifesto either in a special report tonight or tomorrow on air, and I want to go over each point of this and pull up the documents proving that what Tucker said was true. Here's Joe Kent when he went on Piers Morgan yesterday and said, indeed, they are launching this new third-party movement. I'll talk to him personally about it coming up Saturday when I see him in Dallas for the debate, but here it is.
Photograph that emerged over the weekend. And you were in this picture. It was at Tucker Carlson's home. You're in there with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Tucker. What was this? There is word that you're all planning, as Marjorie Taylor Greene put it, a new political movement. What is the movement? Could it be an actual party? What was going on?
You know, things are in the initial phases right now, but there is a growing consensus on, I think, both the right and the left, of people who are sick and tired of the Republican Party. They're sick and tired of the Democrat Party. They want us out of these foolish wars that we're just sitting here talking about right now. Most Americans have no idea what we're talking about. They don't know about Gaza. They don't know about the Straits of Hormuz. They just know that billions of their taxpayer dollars, their blood, their treasure, their sons and their daughters continue to get sent overseas. Our best and brightest get killed. Our taxpayer dollars get spent over there while things continue to decay here in America. And so what we're trying to do is just build a coalition of people who say we're finally going to put America first. We're not going to focus on the next foreign war. We're not going to listen to foreign lobbies like AIPAC and like the Israelis. We're going to focus on the issues that matter here to the American people. And those of us that were there at that table, myself, Tucker, Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and there's others as well. We are, I think, people who initially were part of the MAGA movement, the Trump Republican Party, but we feel that we.
All right, and his video cuts out there for a moment.
Sorry, so you were frozen right at the end there. Just to be clear, though, before we close things, could this involve establishing a new party?
Look, it certainly could. I mean, if you talk to most Americans out there, they're sick of the Republican Party. They're sick of the Democrat Party. They do want something that actually represents their interests. And again, we don't want any more foreign wars. We don't want any foreign lobbying in our government. And we want leadership in America that's going to put the needs of the.
Are you ready for the AI apocalypse? The globalists have been planning this for decades. Steve Quayle, you predicted this over 30 years ago. I warned the AI apocalypse would enslave us. What is the anti-globalist plan? We must rise up now, or it's over. We are literally facing a satanic cannibal cabal hell-bent on triggering a global nuclear war and mass depopulation. Quayle ties the launch of CERN to the rise of AI and exposes the off-world influences of fallen angels, he says, are secretly directing the transhumanist movement. In this full must-watch share interview, I analyze the Russia-Ukraine conflict and how it ties into the expanding Iran war. What I suspect is going to happen next includes other topics, like the laser DMT experiment. It literally discovered a matrix-like code in light, and so much more. You must grasp these implications. Share this widely.
Vladimir Solovyov, top Russian journalist and combat reporter. He's the top in Russia, will be joining us next hour. This hour, we're joined by the top futurist, the father of modern prepping, the filmmaker, best-selling author, where I learned about the human-animal hybrids, the cloning, the weather weapons. 35 years ago, Steve Quayle was the go-to guy, and he's still the go-to guy, and we appreciate him to cover the waterfront. He asked me today, he said, well, I'm coming on. I'm glad to come on, Alex. What do you want me to cover? I said, you will cover what you want to cover. I've got some points and topics and what we're facing, but talk about a man ahead of the curve. People would hear you make a lot of predictions about this stuff coming in the future, and they said, this is doom and gloom. You were saying get ready, but now it's all here, Steve. Some stations don't carry this first 5. We join them at 6 after, but give us a prelude of what you want to put front and center today, and thank you so much for being here with us. You're at stevequayle.com, gen6giants.com, and more people can find your films, your books, and more there. Steve Quayle, thanks for being here.
Well, Alex, this is a really important time, and you know that we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, and I'm so grateful for you and especially the guests you've had, because, look, they're confirming what you've warned about, what I've warned about. We've been on and off together, almost 3 decades, but today we're going to talk about probably one of the most unusual series of events happening, and it's the whole AI takeover and the platform takeover, and also the tunnels that are being found under Gene Hackman's home and also Hulk Hogan's home with alien writings, with hieroglyphics, and I'm going to put it all together for everybody, and I think it's going to be pretty mind-blowing because, you know, in putting together what's called my Glyph project, I've got like 8 experts around the world, not one is in the United States, and the point is that all of the ancient symbols, all of the ancient entities mentioned, even people like Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, in other words, legendary people are absolutely coming forth into the stream of Google's quantum computer chip, and that obviously is Willow. And why did they shut the results down? And Alex, I'm going to tell everybody that I think they need to understand something. You're not being told the truth about really what is happening in the AI world, and I call it basically the alien infection, and I'm talking multidimensional entities. And so we're talking today about, I think, the most important subject, because the ancient glyphs tell not only what went on in the dateless past, but also what's coming up in our future. And it's the title for today's show. I just wrote it down: The Hijacking of Humanity. Singularity is the end of humanity. And for the record, the all-together goal of everything we see happening, the wars, all of the nonsense going on, the biological weapons labs in Ukraine that, thank God, Russia blew up, 102 bioweapons labs in the United States, basically was funding Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard broke that story, but there's more going on than meets the eye, and it's my calling to let everybody know what's coming in the future. And I want to just thank you for having me on today, because it's important. And I'm also going to tell people, if you want me back on, we will show real alien photos, not blurry stuff, not the typical grays from 100 years ago, integrating into certain families in certain parts of the world, and they're as clear as day. And you're going to see that the whole UFO narrative that's being put forth by the U.S. government is nothing but a diversion and a perversion. So, today's a really important day, because in August, Operation High Jump started, and it only lasted less than a year with Admiral Byrd in the Antarctic, but that's where the flying saucers, advanced technology, was found. And Admiral Byrd was debriefed by OSS, turned into the CIA, and then Forrestal was thrown out the window.
Hold on, stay there. Back in 60 seconds. We're told we're obsolete. We're told the rise of AI means humans will be phased out. NBC News says by the year 2047, no more non-cyborg humans will be alive. What is going on? What is the rollout of 5G and 6G? What's going on with the kill switches by law in all the cars and the flock cameras and the rest of it? SteveQuayle.com, best-selling author, filmmaker. I've been listening to him 35 years, been interviewing him at least 30 years, since about 1996. And wow, what an insane time to be alive. I want to do 35,000-foot view with you and then burrow into all of this, because everything you were talking about 30 years ago, now you tune to Joe Rogan, he's got Green Berets on about the giants of Afghanistan and the Nephilim and how they're all serious about it, and just gets crazier and crazier. As the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the Son of Man, of the Antichrist. And world government out in the open, the great reveal, the human trafficking, the pedophilia. You've got all Jewish school kids lost a few months ago and found in underground tunnels in New York. When we had a few years ago, all the weird tunnel behavior going on there. It just gets crazier and crazier by the minute. But big picture, the Ukraine war expanding, Russia threatening to hit NATO countries, Iran 160 days into this war, the strait closed, Trump saying that there'd be nothing left and he'll destroy the whole culture as a glowing crater. That means nukes, obviously. And then now he's saying, he's ready to hit him with stuff we haven't hit people with as hard since World War II. But now they came back to the table. I mean, what have we not used since World War II? That's atomic weapons or hydrogen bombs. It's obviously atomic, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So this is very clear. What's going on is massive escalation. What's it really about? 35,000-foot view, Steve Quayle. Let's get into AI and this AI take over the data centers. What are they really all about? Steve Quayle.
Well, Alex, the 35,000-foot view is simply this. We're watching all of the Luciferian, the global elite, the child-sacrificing, human flesh-eating cannibal cabal making their final play for the extinction of humanity. And they're using what they don't totally understand all the ramifications are using every form of technology. You ran through the list. I don't need to rerun through it. But what's important that we give the big view, the Antichrist, that means the entity that will take the place of Jesus Christ, needs World War III to come on as a fake man of peace, fake that he's Jesus Christ, and brings a temporary peace and an end or cessation to the war. Now, listen, we provoked the West, and under the Luciferian elite, are provoking the war with Russia. I'm telling everybody this: we do not, in the U.S. or in the West, NATO, I don't care who you throw in, I'm really aware of advanced technology. I can tell you this: President Putin spoke truthfully. He demonstrated honestly. The Kinzhal, the Avangard, and their submarines, the Russian subs, and the Poseidon nuclear torpedoes, which people said I was full of you know what, and the Russia demonstrated. So here's the deal: we've got a pathological liar in the West, and we've got a leader in Russia. Listen, when you tell the truth, if someone's doing something right in the Lord, I'm not talking about the politics. And for the record, we're going communistic, already are in the United States, and when the president says he make the best communists in the world, what is going on? So this entire vilification of Russia, I know you're having Sulavov, or the man you're having on, that guy's bright. And when I listen to Dmitry Medvedev, and when I listen to Foreign Minister Lavrov, and I listen to President Putin, these guys are telling the truth. And the West is picking a fight they cannot win. We don't have any, that we know, functional nuclear weapons. And for instance, we're picking a fight. Why? For the decimation of 250 million Americans. And it's not going to go better. It's going to go worse. The big view is we're coming into the four horsemen of the apocalypse on a full gallop. We're watching war. We're watching absolute chaos. We're watching the mega drought that's coming. We're watching the biggest earthquakes preparing to happen, not just in the U.S., but especially in the U.S., New Madrid, the entire Cascadia subduction zone with the Northridge quake and the San Andreas fault, all the volcanoes going off, all these things happening is a bigger view. But what I want people to understand is we're back to the future on this show. We're going back in time to know that this is all planned out. And I'm going to be sharing some stuff. And you know the whole thing about pre-Adamic creation, the golden age. And we keep hearing that repeated. That was the age prior to the creation of Adam and Eve. There was a fallen angel civilization, and I'm talking not cherubs on a mantle and the holidays. I'm talking Gilgamesh. I'm talking the epics. And now we're watching the unveiling of some of the most astonishing architecture that cannot be accounted for, and we've been revealing that. Obviously, I've been doing that for 25 years in Gen 6, but
and by the way, you were the first person I ever heard talk about this. I mean, I heard some preachers say what it talks about in the Old Testament's literal, the giants coming down to have sex with the daughters of men and creating these abominations. It's all clearly there. But what about all the books of the Bible they took out that people tried to say were written later, but since then they found them in Ethiopia, they found them in the Dead Sea Scrolls, dating back, carbon dating to exactly the times that the Bible says it was written, and then they found even older translations back, pre-Christ, saying the same thing, but then I guess the Vatican and others decided to pull those books out. You read those books, it is 100% spaceships landing, huge creatures coming off. You had when Prometheus came out 15 years ago, the prequel to Alien, you had Ridley Scott of the New York Times saying, no, this is our real creation story. None of the elites believe in evolution, as we're told. We were planted here by aliens who we believe then transcended their bodies and are ethereal, and it just gets you into the New Age Luciferian cult, what they really believe. That's why they don't make fun of us when we talk about this. Notice the media doesn't, because they know dead serious what they're doing and what they're following.
Well, they're dead serious. And for instance, the Gene Hackman estate, and I know we're limited in time, but what does one of the most famous actors have with tunnels underneath his property in New Mexico with ancient symbols that are Greek, Egyptian, Sumerian, and star charts on the ground and a giant sealed door on the end of the tunnel. And what is important, I want people to know, for 3 years, I can make this statement, I can prove it. And proof said, well, I want to see proof. Listen, we're seeing now, Alex, and you know this, you've been preaching to the choir, and the choir now is increasing. But when you tell people that things are going to come in the future, they have to have a framework or an ability to reference it. Now with sci-fi and and by the way, that was taken over not only by the intelligence agencies, but we're going to talk about, if we have time, the alien intelligence agency plan to deceive mankind. And that's what the tunnels, especially Gene Hackman's tunnel says. We've deciphered it, eight different linguists, computer specialists, double PhDs. And what's important for people to understand, it all ends up in praise to Lucifer and the extinction of humanity. So I want people to recognize this. This is not a laughing matter. And, you know, humanity's been hijacked. I remember when Ray Kurzweil wrote his book, and you and I did a couple of interviews about that. I think the age of spiritual machines, and what we're watching with all the child sacrifice, the human sacrifice. People need to know the U.S. government and other governments in the world made deals, mostly U.S., with the aliens. They could abduct people. They just wanted to know their names, and for the abduction and the letting them off the hook, in essence, everybody, they would be given access to humans for human experimentation. Isn't it interesting, Alex? All of the early and even the ongoing abductions are always based around sex. And so when I wrote the book, and this is important because I think we did this 20 years ago together, Aliens and Fallen Angels, the sexual corruption of the human race, what the main Brad Steger and Jacques Vallée and even Whitley Strieber, they were talking about that it wasn't like they were dealing with entities from foreign planets, but evil spirits. And I got to tell you that these guys laid the foundation. So where we're at today.
Well, that's right. All of them said that it's more associated with like poltergeist and ghost stories.
Yeah, and it's a supernatural. And I'm going to make a statement. Quantum physics is the spiritual realm, and people are getting all caught up. What the whole definition of quantum physics by the smartest people in the world, when they're talking about singularity, when they're talking about superpositioning, when they're talking about string theory, that's all basically trying to describe what the Bible makes very clear. For instance, Jesus said we're seated in heavenly places when we accept him as Lord and Savior, but how can I be on earth and seated in heavenly places? That's called superpositioning. Everything.
By the way, you're talking about the double slit that's been recreated thousands of times, where you have particles moving between metal or other things, but none of it's observed. It won't let you observe it. What is that?
Well, here's what it. Based on observation, and see, I want to make this clear. All of the definitions of quantum physics are not totally accurate, but the superpositioning is how can a particle exist in two places? If you see it in one place and perceive it in the other, it exists even if you don't perceive it. That's like, can a tree fall in the forest if there's no one to hear it? Yeah, it can. It still makes sound. And then again, quantum entanglement, I mean, we're all created, those who are created in the image and likeness of God. Luciferians just forfeit that. But we live and move and have as being. That's the book of Acts. So what I'm saying specifically is the scientists are full of bleep, and they've dismissed this, they've dismissed you, they dismissed me, and now they have to eat, let's just say this, fecal contaminated crow, because they absolutely are being proven to be the collective assembly of liars, especially on COVID-19. I did, just FYI, COVID-19 was a bioweapon from the beginning. I said it, you said it, and people, and now we see the biggest mass murder, in my opinion, and he exceeds Stalin and Mao. Dr. Faustus from Mephistopheles, Goethe's play, who sold his soul to the devil, pleading the fifth, 100 times? And everybody knows he's guilty of sin, but why is he one of the most protected individuals in the former federal government? And he has a security detail, I'm told, that equals the president. So here's the thing, Alex. The big view is that. Now, the specific view is that due to this project, and I think you can put it up on the screen, you may have, the AI Glyph project, we're being able to see what the ancients knew. And listen, again, we're talking about kings that ruled in Samaria for 36,000 years. If anybody wants to look it up, they can look up the Sumerian kings list. We're talking about kings that were some 18 feet tall. And so the whole situation, giants, and you remember talking about that, one of the oldest versions, I want to get back to your statement on the 22 books that aren't in the contemporary Bible, the pseudepigrapha, the lost books of Eden, for instance, the other book of Enoch and the book of giants, those are Dead Sea Scrolls. They're so exact, it flipped out the Catholic Church. And the Glyph Project translations are, all those symbols you see are real symbols. And so—
By the way, let me just stop you here because I'm looking at those symbols right now. This came out about 15 years ago. Now, since then, the Pentagon and universities have recreated it. And to type in DMT laser experiment, and it shows the original guy that did it and everybody else is doing it. And I've talked to people that I know personally that are, let's just say in the government, that have done it. And they fire out this type of laser and hit a prism onto a wall, and you're on DMT, you literally see matrix codes, but it looks just like the glyphs that are in your book. And it's the code of, and then the same people can be on it together, and they will see the same codes. So they're having group hallucinations, which can't be an hallucination then. It means the veil is being lifted. We know that the optic nerve blocks out 99 or more % of what it's able to pick up. The optic nerve is able to pick up radiation, not just other forms of light, all sorts of stuff. So we have this veil the Bible talks about so that we don't get overwhelmed. But when the DMT goes in, it literally lifts the veil and they see the matrix code, which is something you talked about decades ago.
Well, I think it's important too. Let's take it fast forward to CERN, the particle accelerator in Switzerland French border, and they have at the end of the beam target, they have glass panels with different characters, Hebrew, some of the different languages, and I'm talking about signs and symbols. But what they don't tell you or show you are the ancient symbols that in our Glyph project we show those. And so far, ladies and gentlemen, look, we're operating on a shoestring budget, and literally I'm up against the billionaires and some of the trillionaires. Well, not trillionaires, but literally billionaires in Google and Meta and those guys, and they're not telling you what the Glyph report will tell you. Here's the bottom line. The ancient symbols are so pronounced about where we're at, Alex, now and then what's in the immediate future, that I think people better take this stuff seriously. For instance, what would somebody think of an emoji? I don't use them very often. A thumbs up or the middle finger, never use that, just because I want to be more articulate than that. But the point is, every symbol, one of the oldest symbols in the world is a spiral. And as my production company has gone around the different parts of the world. You can't get away from the spiral. The spiral is a stargate, and there are real stargates, and all the stargates that we've turned up, and we've turned up about, I think, 14, and they all are in glyphs, and when they're all translated, it's just like the original film Stargate, SG-1 or the original Stargate film. You had to line up symbols. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is a symbol. Every trademark is a symbol. But
let's expand on this. Universities are able, with this DMT laser test, to do this. So what are these glyphs that look just like the movie The Matrix, but are a little bit different, that is literally encoded in matter? What is that?
Well, first of all, it's the language of creation, and I think people who have literally, there's good and bad, but the point that is that's why I wasn't clear enough. The literal encoding of DNA. What is DNA? It's a code. But when you go beyond that, what is beyond that? And you go into the microverse, and it is all composed and held together by the Word of God. Colossians 1, the first chapter of Colossians, verses 16, 17, and 18. And so what I want people to get out of this is you're talking about the laser, but that's what CERN is doing. They're using glass plates with the symbols, and guess what's happening? There are entities communicating with them. The reason Google shut down their Willow chip was because they found some of the parallel dimensions or alternative dimensions. And when they started running into ancient symbols, like the ones that are on the page, when they ran into the different entities and things, and people started saying, well, wait a minute. They even ran into songs that couldn't be translated. And what's interesting, and it just becomes more perplexing, is the fact that the Nazis in 1943 were using glass plates, and I had multiple four-star generals tell me that the attempt at the Nazis making Stargates was very much represented in the first episode of Hellboy. Now, obviously, most people won't believe that, but what CERN is doing is blasting into the subatomic realm, and a lot of that stuff you see like in the Matrix, Alex, and by the way, what a great example. Why would CERN use the goddess Shiva? And as everybody knows, Oppenheimer made the statement he had become the destroyer of worlds in direct relationship to that statue and the
And it gets worse. The symbol of CERN is 3 intertwined sixes. But before CERN even opened, when I was first interviewing you 30 years ago, they had just canceled the superconducting super collider at Waxahachie in northeast Texas. And you were explaining that it was meant to break into other dimensions and literally let entities out. And then when they build CERN, they literally put occultism everywhere. They did occultism when it opened. They constantly do occultism. They put out a card deck of occultism. They do occultism every time they do a test. And they even, and they say, well, we just like to do this. No, the whole thing is a giant occult operation. And then they tell you in these movies from 25, 30 years ago, like Stargate, and then now scientists are proving that matter is literally encoded with these symbols.
Absolutely. And again, when I use the word absolute, I mean that not as a buzzword. And what's so fascinating is that what you see going on now in the imagery of Stargate SC1, every one of those symbols, Alex, over 3 years and a lot of effort and money, my Glyph project team has, I think we've got close to 700,000 symbols. And it takes supercomputers, and we only have access to those as funds permit. And I'm out there telling everybody, look, if you see that Google and Meta spent close to, well, at least $500 billion, maybe closer to $750 billion, and I'm saying, look, I'm looking, I'm literally telling people this. I'm looking for somebody with 25 million bucks, and they can tell you what's going on in the past. We can tell you what's going on in the future. And again, this is not necromancy. It's not fortune telling. It's written in the stars. It's literally the heavens declare the glory of God. But most people don't understand that the constellations and many of the star patterns are shown in the floor on Gene Hackman's tunnel. And there's a lid put on.
And by the way, at first the police did say they found stuff, then it got shut down. The media said nothing was there. I'm not even trying to say Hackman was into something bad or weird, but so much the Hollywood people are basically into one form of this, or another, at least studying it. And I can tell you, I've been on around some of the big Hollywood folks. They're all asking me about this stuff decades ago, asking what I know about it. And all I know is what I've researched that the globalists are into. Take Skull and Bones. We know about that because Charlotte Iserby's father was in Skull and Bones. She was the one that gave Anthony Sutton the documents. And then he was able to get more as a Senate archivist out. They believe they're communicating with off-world entities they call gods. And they go and do these rituals to try to interface or become possessed or influence. I guess possession is full, and then there's a sub-possession. What's the term for that? It's demon obsessed. So they're trying to become entity obsessed here, and this is what all these groups are trying to do. It's what Epstein was doing. We now know rituals, eating human flesh, doing all this. That's all in the emails. It's all confirmed. You used to come on my show 30 years ago and say they're literally eating children. I'm like, Come on, I know there's some Satanism and stuff, but and then Ted Gunners is like, no, they really eat children, and they torture them to then have all the hormones be released. It's not just adrenochrome, folks. It's beyond that. Let's come back and talk about why this is all coming out. It seems to be coming to a head. What you predict comes next with the incredible Steve Quayle. Be sure to check him out at stevequayle.com and gen6giants.com. America is now 250 years old. July 4th isn't about delicious cheeseburgers and fireworks, though I love them so much. It's about what does America stand for. The globalists cannot have our country survive. They want transhumanism. They want the Great Reset. They want the New World Order. That's why they demonize Americana. That's why they pay the NBA and the NFL to take a knee during the anthem and push all this communist Chinese garbage. Because what America stands for is antithetical to what they're doing. So, when you go to thealexshowstore.com, we have a whole summer line that just rolled out. We'll show you some of these designs. And most of them, I came up with the concepts. I'm pretty proud of it. I think this is a badass shirt. It's the Betsy Ross flag. And it says Rebel Scum since 1776. And the designs just get better from there. And they fund the Second American Revolution happening right now. Because our Revolutionary War never really ended. We're just one continued arc, the flower of the Renaissance, challenging totalitarians and authoritarian scum. Because in truth, they're the scum, we are the future, and we are winning. You wanted 1980s style wife beaters? We got a whole bunch of them with great slogans like less 1984, more 1776. Got another great shirt, Make Orwell Fiction Again, and so much more at thealexshowstore.com. And I got to tell you, this fabric, how light it is, how good it feels. I asked the folks at Bigley, can we have some dress shirts? And I sent them an example. This is even better than the shirt I bought that was similar to it. This is awesome. This shirt is so light. It's so great in the summer. Get yours now along with dozens of new designs and so much more at thealexshowstore.com. Now, we set up Steve Quayle for the show last week, and I didn't even know he was going to get into tunnels. But it's interesting because this just broke a few days ago and has gotten basically zero national coverage. And in the fourth hour, after our guest leaves, I'm going to spend some time on this because it's a big deal. Turns out the feds covered up Zorro Ranch. They didn't use ground penetrating radar. They didn't have the cadaver dogs. They didn't, when they said they found nothing, no, they did nothing. And we have the state attorney general saying they were involved in the beginning in the first Trump administration and that the feds had them sign an agreement that they would give them everything they found if they basically signed over authority, and now they've given them nothing. But the witnesses said underground bases, tunnels, medical experiments, similar to what Peter Nygaard was doing connected into Epstein in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean and in France and in the UK and just all over the place. Then you got the Rothschilds, the head one that worked with Epstein, Nat Rothschild, trying to get this Russian base off Albania that has 3,000 plus underground bunkers, a train station, all the rest of it with the Trumps. They're like stealing a bunch of the seashore. Millions are protesting it. Then you get this. New Mexico sues DOJ and Todd Blanche alleging they blocked Epstein probe. And then you go through the lawsuit and the local newscast is like 13 minutes long. We'll play it in the fourth hour. And they have the attorney general saying this is a total cover up. None of it's been investigated. Though you turn on the national news, it's all been investigated, nothing there. And this is just a few miles from where Gene Hackman was at, basically, in Los Alamos. New Mexico sues Justice Department over Epstein files. So when I say it's not national news, it hit Politico, it hit NBC News, but it's not. They're not making it a big story. Here's the lawsuit. It's very lengthy. You got to go read this for yourself about how it was all covered up and what's going on there. And we know, and I said this over 13, 14 years ago from my sources, but it was in the emails that came out this year, the Epstein 3.2 million and the hundreds of thousands of photos and the rest of it. Thousands of emails about the sex slaves were delivered to the hotel. Thousands of emails about we're bringing you the jerky. We're walking it up from the beach. I want fresh jerky. I don't want frozen jerky. Then they talk about eating children. They talk about human cloning. They talk about surrogates. And if you look at what Nygaard was doing, and he was tied in to the elites and Bush Sr. getting treatments from him, you have a baby with a woman. You kill it before it's born, so it's legal. But you don't kill it right away. You suck the bone marrow, the blood, all the juices out. It's called a sanguination. And then you inject it into your veins. And because it's your child, it isn't rejected. And supposedly it's like 1,000 times stronger than stem cells. And Nygaard was 80-something years old and looked like he had the body, of like a 25-year-old triathlete. And I've covered this ad nauseum. There's no reason to roll it again or show it. Just type in, meet Peter Nygaard, the real vampire. That's just one of our reports. It's out there everywhere. But the point is that this is what was going on a wider scale in Europe, in the Caribbean, in Zorro Ranch, and we have the witnesses to it, and we have women, before Nygaard ever got busted doing this, saying the exact same stuff about Epstein. Then you get the emails. Now imagine the Justice Department held back another 3+ million. They've disappeared all the hard drives and the rest of it. They say filled houses. From your research and your intel, Steve, because you and Ted Gunderson were the first guys I heard saying this, and by the time I found you 35 years ago, you'd already been out there for years. And that's a whole other story, how you got led into this, literally by the Holy Spirit. But give us the bottom of the rabbit hole here on this. You've given us 35,000-foot view, but what's the bottom of the rabbit hole here?
Let me sum it up, and I'll give you the bottom. I always like to, Alex, give the bottom line, and then, you're free to ask questions. But the U.S. government is hiding its relationship. I wrote this down for your show, with the fallen angels and hybrids, the aliens on Earth, and the U.S. society, etc. Hollywood has a deal with the fallen angels. Look, let me make this clear. There's some people that flip out when they use the term fallen angels. Fallen angels are not demons. The book of Enoch and the book of Giants, which I think Joe Rogan's talked to Mel Gibson about, and I've watched some of Rogan's interviews, including the one you were on. But the bottom line is this: the glyphs, the symbols, the signs on the doors and the tunnels tell the story of the heavy involvement of the U.S. government with fallen angels and hybrids, not only with the U.S. government, but Hollywood as well. And most people just can't get this, that they don't
know about Jack Parsons with Aleister Crowley and the founders of NASA literally on record doing satanic sex rituals.
Yep. And again, look, when Operation High Jump, the U.S. sent the military down to find what's called New Schwabenland in Antarctica, the secret Nazi base. And what's important is that we got our behinds kicked by advanced technology. Under Operation High Jump, over 200 scientists, including Dr. Werner von Braun, Hermann Oberth, these are the top missile scientists in the world, were brought to the United States, given alternate identities. And you can't look at any major technological corporation that did not have advanced Nazi technology. And these tunnels, here's what's interesting. You can tell what the human U.S. government is because they're finding paper records of everything. But the aliens, and I'm talking about real extra dimensionals, are showing all in the different languages what's going on, the history of the world before the creation of Adam and Eve. And you asked me a really important question. Where's the bottom line? Where is this leading? And the bottom line is this, that our government will never tell the truth. Now, listen, everyone, if you can't see the headlines that they continually lie, 55 times we got to deal with Iran. 55 times Iran said, no, we don't. You've got a government, we've got a government, and it's on our shoulders that's openly provoking nuclear war, and there's nobody that's tried to stop it harder, longer. And look, I live in this world. I do, and you do too, Alex. You know this. When you get the collective wisdom of people that, you've got Victor Bouton, really amazing guy, and his history is phenomenal. You've interviewed the top Russian thinkers. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, they have been vilified in order for, I'll tell you why. Russia was vilified. 66 national intelligence agents all lied. They all perjured themselves to blame Russia. The whole Russian dossier, the Steele dossier, was fake. So why did they do that? To shift, and you're going to, Alex, you know this, to shift the blame on Oh, good night. The blame of everything that's going on in the world, to blame it on Russia when the Chinese are buying off every single leader in the West. And I'm talking congressmen and senators, maybe not every single one. And they're trying to defer the, how do I say this, the anger at what people would be knowing if they found out that China has got a lot of our major political leaders on the dole, and some have got $250 million. But more importantly than that is that the lying intelligence establishment, Alex, there is no truth. You know that. I know that. We know that. And the people are out there telling the truth. People have been fed such a horse manure plate of pig slop in lies, 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 that the truth, I believe this is God's going to show people the absolute lies, the depravity. And by the way, I have a new name for Washington, D.C. beyond demonic central. It's called debauchery, command, control, and communication. So in essence, we wink at sin. And I'm telling you this, I know the flack you got into on Pizzagate. I know the flack I got into talking about it. And what these people are is, how should I say this, Luciferian vampires. And they absolutely live on the blood. By the way, the Deuteronomy says the life is in the blood. So they think by drinking children's blood, we're dealing with a cannibal cabal of absolute sold out haters of humanity. And that's what the Glyph Project is showing us, telling us how many of the leaders have how many legions of demons. And a demon is a disembodied spirit of a giant. A fallen angel does not how should I say this, usually possess a man. Now, Lucifer possesses Satan, and obviously he possesses current political leaders in the West, in my opinion. But it's important that this supernatural aspect, look, we're coming into the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and kudos to Russia. If they hadn't destroyed, and I don't have the numbers, but I do know this, it was Tulsi Gabbard that said the U.S. was supporting and funding 102 biolabs. And I remember doing a show with you, and people said I was crazy. Look, they're not even going to just have
No, you talked
types.
about it under Obama, who actually set it up. But I remember Victoria Nuland didn't lie in front of Congress 4 years ago. They asked her about it. She said, no, it's true. So she didn't perjure herself. She said, no, we did that.
Yep. And so, again, where are we at? Here's the thing. You've got to ask yourself, and I have to ask myself, the end goal is to destroy humanity. And Russia doesn't take the bait. But look, we could talk for hours. You could talk about advanced Russian weapon systems, their torpedoes, they use hypercavitation. There's nothing.
I remember you 20 years ago saying they've got better hypersonic missiles than us, and people said you were full of crap. Now that's not even debated.
And then let's talk about the mega drought, okay? Because Texas, you're experiencing some real shortages of water every place. But what no one will tell you, and this is in the Glyph Project, is that there are seismic weapons. Actually, Tesla even talked about those, and they're initiating micro fractures even into the Ogallala Aquifer.
Well, the Secretary of Defense, Cohen, in 97, gave a briefing saying our governments and others, even corporations, have tectonic weapons. So, and Israel admits they've got tectonic weapons.
Right. And again, look at where we're at right now is the fact that the mega drought means mega death. OK, we're watching the volcanism. And that's something else that I want people to understand. The volcanism is absolutely going ballistic. And here's something I said 35 years ago. This can only be attributed to the mercy of the living God. When I started on, AM talk radio, it was in Colorado, KHNC. And out of the blue, I said, you'll know we're in tribulation when cannibalism fills the headlines of the day and the major volcanoes are underway. And nobody would, I wouldn't do that. I couldn't do that. What are we seeing? We're seeing cannibalism. We're having the biggest expose of the Epstein file, which, by the way, is an Israeli, and it's been an intelligence gathering operation for probably 40 years at least. Remember Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, who drowned while swimming off his yacht? He was murdered. He must have tried to make a double deal. And now what we're seeing is the U.S. being told that we're going to get control.
We know he stole like $14 billion from MI6. He was managing the whole thing, owning the British media, and then he got caught and wouldn't give him the money back, so they threw him off the ship.
Well, they not only threw him off the ship, they had divers in the water who held him under and drowned him. I remember interviewing, good night, it was I believe it was Frank Dukes, the secret man, the only Anglo that ever won the Kuomintang, the ultimate karate match. And he's, I think, Jerry, good night. He's one of the famous.
No, I know. I'm not as old as you, but it all blurs when we got so much knowledge. So many interviews are like,
yeah, but here's the bottom line. He told me they drowned Colby, the head of the CIA. He was canoeing on the Potomac, did the same thing. Okay, who whacked Maxwell? They took Colby out too, and so
that's right. Because people don't know, Colby was pissed about the pedo stuff and was starting to bring it out. That's on record.
Yep. So this is it. And Jesus said there's going to be great earthquakes in diverse places. And I'm going to say this: perverse places are going to get tagged extra hard. And what we're
by the way, there's even top seismologists, as you know, are saying California is like 12 years overdue for a megaquake.
Well, yeah, and actually, Alex, they have a gag order. I mean, there are guys in the USGS that can't even say, hey, we're gagged. But the true nature of it, you have to go to foreign seismic networks and people who are geologists and volcanologists to find out what's really going on. So what I'm talking about is a simultaneous eruption of volcanoes, the megaquakes, the one in Cascadia. I did a movie on that, and it's really good. By the way, those were done 7 years ago. That's an interesting number. And basically, it's going to be the biggest quake that the United States has ever experienced, 9.5 to 10.
Well, Steve, let's do this. 1 hour is not enough. We still got some time left. And I've interrupted you. You wanted to get into the AI rollout, what the data centers are really about. I want to finish with that in the 8 minutes we have left. But let's do this. Let's do a commercial-free hour and a half soon, and then I'll air it on the main show as well. You can send all your exhibits, and we can do this properly because I've been out of town. You're just here. It's amazing. I want you to really be able to walk through this. But let's go back to what you tried to start off with, and then I segued you into war. What's going on with the AI? What's its ultimate end game? What's going on with the data centers? They're saying it needs 100 times the power we get. We can't have a car or air conditioner. That's bad for the earth, but they can dump toxic wastewater in. They're trying to give them liability protection to do whatever they want. What is this AI race really about?
Well, first of all, it's human extinction. The amount of fresh water that the AI data centers are using is massive. Now, the Chinese already solved that problem. They're putting their quantum computers and the computers that demand excessive amounts of cooling. They're putting them in. They're putting them on satellites, and they're putting them underwater. And they also are, whether it's true or not, supposedly they have one of their quantum computers on the moon. And by the way, the whole Saturn space program, that was basically a diversion. We've had Stargate technology, the ancients. So the AI program and the programming, Alex, they're at war. The different platforms are different fallen angels. I'm going to make this clear, not demons, fighting for superiority. And what's happening is the AI, people say, well, it's artificial. It's not artificial. There's so many.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you again. This is why you got to come back. In fact, before you leave, you tell Scott or Daria when you want to come on some Saturday. We can do it live too. That way, commercial free. Pick a Saturday, a Sunday, then I'll air it on the full show. Because okay. I remember it had to be. What book was it? Because I read the book and you came on the show. It had to be like 25 years ago. You wrote a book saying that you said artificial intelligence will be possessed and that it's going to be a conscious being and that the system worships this. Now all the tech guys have said that. All the head guys have said that. They've said it's a religion. They've now openly, Elon said, beware those that worship AI gods. How did you know that? And what book was that? Because I can't remember which book it was.
Well, first of all, I was talking about the demon infestation, and I don't know that I put it in a book, but I know doing a show on it with you. And
no, I read it. One of your books. I mean, he written so many. Okay, well, one of your books gets into the computers being possessed.
Okay, now I got you. Sorry, I'm trying to go 3,000 miles an hour.
No, I
and
understand.
I can't keep up with you. The thing is I put it in terminated. The end of the human race is here. I put it in genetic Armageddon, and that's where it was. So am I still on for 6 minutes, or am I off
no,
now?
you are. And I want to interrupt people. I want people to know you said all this decades ago. And literally, there wasn't anybody else's research. Like, you're the first person I ever heard write this or say this. And now everything you say, they're literally saying this.
Well, and again, look, I make no bones about it. I didn't come up with this stuff. I had a face-to-face encounter with Jesus Christ, and yes, he's real. He gave me a vision of the future in living color, but he told me he would only release certain parts of it as it was shortly to come to pass. And so when I was dealing with the termination of the human race, genetic Armageddon, and for the record, the destruction of those biolabs, they were pretty much focusing on individual specific genomes of individuals. In other words, I said that 25 years ago, oh, that'll never happen. In other words, they got my DNA. By the way, how many DNA samples were taken during the COVID murder? And that's a COVID murder. Let's call it what it is. It's not the political bullshit that they try and cover it up with. Hundreds of millions of people died. Just the Chinese phone records of the requirement of Chinese citizens to have cell phones. Somebody was really smart. And so, ladies and gentlemen, where can you go to get the truth? In my opinion, it's the Bible. Alex, it was the Lord Jesus that gave it to me. And I wish, all I can say is, to whom glory is due and honor and praise is due. And because of the track record, I also said this is important. Ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be no diesel in the next 3 weeks to 4 weeks, and there's going to be no food, and there are going to be the worst food riots. And how can I say that? One of the largest trucking firms in the U.S., as a personal friend of one of my team members, and he said, it's going to get bad. Warn the people. Okay, so in 30 some years ago, I gave a prophecy. God said, it's on my website. God said, I'm going to bring America to a complete standstill. No planes will fly, no trains will run, no trucks will run. And I'm going to require of them to deal with their sin. Now, I believe that we've seen glimpses of that, but Alex, I think it's coming fast and furious. And I do want to take you up because, ladies and gentlemen, on the offer Alex just gave me, we'll do an uninterrupted version. I'll give you all the exhibits. You will see stuff on this program, Alex's program, that most people have never even seen. And the only people that have seen it are the Glyph Reports subscribers, and that's by subscription only. And I think, Alex, it will be blowing mind because I'm not talking about, fuzzy alien pictures or the typical grays or any of that nonsense. I'm talking about aliens having integrated into societies over 100 years ago, and they did have cameras then, and it was before CG and it was before AI, and it's amazing. Some of these creatures are so hideous. So when people tell me, like the Prometheus factor, the aliens created us. Look, I spent 3 years on a lot of money on expeditions to Mexico, and the aliens were also ugly. We have what are called alien birth panels showing aliens, they make the definition, with Aztec women giving birth to the most hideous creatures. And interestingly enough, it shows the aliens in some of the panels building the pyramids, and it shows literal werewolves. And if you know, fast forward to Skinwalker Ranch, they're dealing with that even now. Basically, skinwalkers are the same thing as a vampire, but they can change their form. So, I think that if you'll allow me, I'll give you all of the exhibits because that's the right way. Let's do this, Steve,
because we're out of time. Get with the producers. Let's pick a date like in a week or two so you can get it all together, send it to us. We'll do like an hour and a half or longer if you want, like you used to with Art Bell. Commercial free, and we will go right to it. Steve Quayle, thank you so much. SteveQuayle.com.
Thank you, Alex.
Wild stuff, folks, but it's the stuff's going on. The globalists are into it. It's totally insane. We are living in just wild times.
NATO and the Pentagon openly promote the idea that nuclear war is survivable and should be on the table. Even if that's true, what comes after is what we should really fear. The spiritual battle, the forces pushing for war under Satan's command. I agree. This is a spiritual battle against evil. Alex, is nuclear war now unavoidable? Vladimir, tell us what's happening. The globalists have brought us to the precipice. I call them out. Soros, the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergers. Names! Tell us their plan. They escalate in Ukraine, Syria to trigger planetary thermonuclear war. How do we stop it? We must expose them now or it's too late.
Vladimir Solovyov is our guest. He's at VR Solovyov on X, Solovyov.live, and he is the #1 talk show host in Russia, speaks fluent English, and he has been on the front lines of the war for months and months every year. Very, very dangerous situation. And I followed him, even who he was before this war kicked off. He's been an anti-war guy, didn't want war with Ukraine. I wouldn't even call him a big Putin supporter in the past, but with what's happened now, you see the polls, and I talk to people I know that in Russia, they say 90% of the Russians want more. 4.5 years into this, they are pissed off. And the Ukrainians just a few days ago blew up a bunch of beachgoers, men, women, and children with a drone. They're attacking girls' schools, girls' soccer teams, clearly wanting Russia to accelerate so NATO has a pretext to officially enter. Then you look at NATO, unelected EU bureaucracy, their commission, run by the grandchildren of royal scum. They say they want a national draft. They say they want a 20-year war that'll stay conventional, that Russia will then be broken in 5 parts. That is the insane public business plan of the unelected EU. And now they've got our government under Biden and now Trump continuing this insanity. Trump said he wanted to end it, but acts like he's not even the president. He keeps wanting to end the Iran war, can't do that. Israel won't let him out of it. I mean, it's really bad. So whenever I have somebody on like Vladimir, they'll say, oh my God, you're a Russian puppet, Russian propaganda. Before I watch his show sometimes, I've already said what he's about to say. He's not copying me, I'm not copying him. We see the same thing. Victoria Nuland said we started the war. George Soros, when he could still talk, went on CNN 10 years ago and said, I'll be the czar of Russia. We're going to lure Russia into a war. Well, I guess they got what they wanted, but it's not going the way they wanted, Vladimir. So you're a very serious guy on your own show. You get mad like I do because we need to get people out of their comfort zone and get pissed off to end this crap because it's continuing up the threat escalation ladder. And you bet I get pissed off because I don't want to waste my life and my children's lives and Americans' lives and Russians' lives on a bunch of insane globalist megalomaniacs. They're going to get us all fucking killed if we don't do something about it. So Vladimir, tell us from the Russian perspective what you see on the front lines, where we are. You've got the floor. It's your show right now.
Alex, 2 questions. Why we're still fighting? We had a great meeting between Trump and Putin in Anchorage. We had some sort of proposal, we had a deal. It looked like we have a romantic period. At the same time, Trump was 100% sure that Zelensky is just basically stealing American taxpayers' money. He cannot account for any money that's been stolen from American taxpayers. So why are we still in it? We were ready to make certain moves. We were ready to complete whatever we agreed on. But why Trump is still not in a position to end this war? So the question is, who runs your country? Is it Donald Trump? Who runs your country? Who runs the show? At first, we used to think it's Biden and all other people that cannot even remember their own names, but obviously not. We thought that maybe bankers, maybe it's Federal Reserve System, maybe those guys, but nowadays we can be 100% sure that there is new kid on the block. And this new kid on the block is not just running the show in the United States, but they actually trying to conquer this world. We call them techno-fascists. Look at them. One of them tried to take role even in the government, Elon Musk, and he's the smartest one of them. But there are 2 others. The worst one is Alex Karp, the Palantir. He is the one who is targeting Russian kids. He is the one who is killing Russians and is very proud of it. Why is he doing? Why this pervert is doing this? And he is a pervert, and it's well known. Why is he in a position to drag United States into this war? It's not only money. No. It's much more powerful than money. It's a desire to destroy Russia as the last Christian country in this world. The same way as they're trying to destroy United States, they've been Christian through the whole history of this great country. It's not about us. It's about people like Alex Karp and others that are not even 100% mentally here. Look at his behavior. Hear at what he is saying. He hates kids, basically, and he stated it a few times. He is behind killing girls in Iran school. He is behind killing girls in Lugan school in Sarabelsk. He is behind killings of Russians, and he is damn proud of himself. He runs your country. He is the one who have stolen power from American people. No one ever elected this guy. No one ever gave him authority to run your country. But he is right now trying to implement all his perverted views, as well as friend of his, yet another techno-fascist, and they haven't started 2 days ago. No, they've started quite some time ago. And they were building the empire of hatred. And now one of them is stating that, well, Pope is Satan because he is willing to limit artificial intelligence. So he is fighting Pope, calling him devil. Yet another guy of techno-fascists. There are 3 of them. Russian people are killed, and that's the purpose of this motherfucker. And 2 others, they've been killed by drones produced by Americans, Brits, Germans, using missiles produced by all NATO countries. And they're so damn proud of themselves that they're killing Russians. They're not trying to win this war, no. They're willing finally to eliminate the last country where man is man, where woman is a woman, where we love kids, we believe in God, and we're not scared to fight for our beliefs. We do not hate Ukrainians. We feel sorry for them. But people that behind this massacre, not Ukrainians, those are puppets of those techno-fascists. But how come that even your statesmen being corrupted by people like Zelensky, using money that's been stolen from your taxpayers? Look at this guy, even at this one that just passed away, Lindsey Graham. He was not a nice guy, has been politely stated by Donald Trump at his funeral. But who killed Lindsey Graham? Oh, you want us to believe that 70-year-old guy just suddenly died, just coming back from Ukraine? Something happened and he just passed away. Or maybe Ukrainians killed him. Because when he is dead, it's 100% warranty that this new bill with sanctions from hell will be very shortly and fastly signed by whomever, voted for by whomever has to vote. But what are those sanctions about? Well, you want to sanction us, you want to sanction countries that are buying gas and oil from Russia. Why? What's in it for you? In this case, plus you want to sanction our president, our top-notch people. In this case, just declare war on Russia. Because basically, if you sanction Russian president, that means there's no longer American embassy in Russia. You go, how can you come to the president and tell him, oh, Mr. President, I'm an ambassador of the United States, and by the way, we do not recognize you, and we're going to sanction you. Well, that's a new word in diplomacy.
Vladimir Solovyov, stay right there because I want to go back over some of what you said. I want to go back over some of what you said. because I'm not in the business here as an apologist for Alex Karp, but no doubt he's behind a lot of the AI directing weapons against Russia and in Gaza against the Gazans, and he said that, and he said he's proud of it. So I think it's accurate when you say, when it comes to the tech's teeth, to a great extent, it is Alex Karp and their military division of Palantir and some of the other companies. But specifically, when you ask who it is, it's a consortium in the military-industrial complex. It's BlackRock and the big global banks. Larry Fink needs this war to have the world economy go down so they can put everybody on the central bank digital currency. It's the old British Empire that's heavily quarterbacking NATO and the Northern Group, as they call it. And then it's Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu with AIPAC lobby putting the pressure on Congress to get that, and starting the war with Iran to drag us in. You have that consortium of groups that want this war. You have the unelected EU Commission, who has bad demographics, terrible economic outlook. They admit, other than war with Russia, to be an effect that they can unify and control their population. So to me, it's a consortium.
Exactly, and there's a fight inside this consortium. You're absolutely right. But what I see right now, like new sharks are eating the old ones. And that's what's happening in Ukraine. That's why right now they basically eliminated a threat that was coming from Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Fedorov, who was pro-Palantir. So he was trying to put all the money that they had only on Palantir and on FPVs, and he forgot about other big boys with traditional weapons. So those guys find a way to get him out of the picture.
Yeah,
but
people don't know.
We have
Remember, we have very informed Americans and others, but a lot of them aren't up to speed like you. Zelensky's been cleaning house, so has NATO and other groups. A bunch of the former oligarchs and war profiteers have been getting bombed, killed, disappeared. Can you speak to that? Because that's obviously where you're going.
What's happening right now in Ukraine, there's not enough money to steal. Because for those guys, they started with thousands, then millions, then billions, and they can never stop. They can never stop. They're like dogs. They cannot stop eating when there's food to eat. And now they started killing one another. What's happening in Monaco, when they were trying to eliminate one of the guys who was controlling the fake telephone business with all those crooks on the telephone that are stealing people money. They tried to blow him in Monaco, and it was done by a lady named Berezovskaya. They killed her in Ukraine because her face was on the tape. So Ukrainian special forces decided to wipe her out of this world, to clean the page. They're fighting whomever is a threat for the money that they're stealing, but not just stealing. They're stealing from taxpayers, but they're distributing through politicians within politicians. I'm pretty much sure that if you look at top-notch French, Norway, Denmark, German, British politics, they're all on the payroll, as well as a lot of Ukrainian supporters among officials and elected members in your country.
And where you're going is exactly where I was going to go. The word I got is, and it was confirmed by a lot of high-level folks like Larry Johnson and others, Graham was set to be indicted here and overseas for getting hundreds of millions from Ukraine. So it was perfect timing to get rid of him, to make him a cause celeb. But it's just because, and even Interpol and even NATO admits that Zelensky is killing the people that were getting too fat at the trough. Now that the money's been cut, that's not Russian propaganda. And now I look at Zelensky.
It has nothing to do with Russia.
Yeah, well, so give us the bottom line. Things aren't going well. Obviously, they've strategically lost. NATO strategically lost. Russia's outperforming 3 times the munitions.
I don't know where from in the United States and in Europe they got this idea that Russia is losing on the front line. It's complete bullshit. We're not moving as fast as during the Second World War, but at the same time, we're moving fast enough.
Well, let me just stop you. Let me just stop you and give you my perspective. Tell me I'm right. Yeah. Putin said it's a limited military special operation. He doesn't want to go to full war and give NATO what they want.
Exactly.
So he does the bare minimum, and in a war of attrition, he's having a major strategic victory. Even the Pentagon admits, just like Iran is having a strategic victory right now. You might explain that.
Okay, with Iran, it's a little bit different story because there is no land involved. So there is no land operation so far. There was one attempt that they're trying to cover with rescue operation of the American pilot that obviously was an operation on trying to get the nuclear material from Iran. And it was complete disaster. And we don't even know how many people were killed, how many Americans were killed. In Russia, it's completely different scenario. We're moving forward. Amount of losses on our side and on the Ukrainian side cannot be even compared. But there's one easy number to remember. Every time when we exchange bodies of dead soldiers, we give to Ukrainian side 500 plus. They give us around 30. That's why when Zelensky is saying that, oh, come on, losses of Russian side, tremendous, we're killing Russians in quantity. It's BS. It's complete bullshit. He is trying to catch people on the streets and get them on the front line. In Russia, every single person who is fighting right now for the last 2.5 years, they volunteered for the service. These 6 months, we have 200,000 people who signed new contracts with Russian military. We're not willing to take Lviv. We're not interested in taking Kiev or whatever they're calling it right now. And we never ever stated that we are trying to destroy Ukraine and to conquer the whole Ukraine. If anyone is actually interested in what were Putin's plans, they should take and read the scripts of the Istanbul Agreement that could stop this war, if not by Boris Johnson, corrupted asshole, and Macron, the person who is heavily beaten by his own wife. It's all propaganda. It has nothing to do with reality.
Well, let me ask you this.
Whatever West is saying, it's complete bullshit. We're getting where we're willing to go.
Well, no one's denying. No one's denying.
Sumy, Kharkov, yeah, we got Konstantinovka. Quite soon, liberation of Donbass will be finished. We're moving. I think that this month we liberated more than 700 square kilometers. And by the way, if you look at the operation, since 24th of February, 2022, till today, amount of land that became Russian land is greater than amount of land and became part of the Soviet Union during the Great Patriotic War, starting from 22nd June 1941 till May 9th, 1945. Yes, went all the way to Berlin, but then we got back. It was not our territory. We got only Kaliningrad district, and Tuva joined us. Nowadays, we have liberated Russian people that now are part of Russia with the land of their own.
So let me ask you this question. I don't disagree with your analysis. I don't think anybody, the Pentagon doesn't deny that Russia's winning. The Pentagon doesn't deny that Iran is winning strategically. And now Zelensky says they're getting, a third the missiles they were. Clearly they're falling apart. Clearly they're now eating their own. That's a final phase. How do you see this ending or winding down without NATO being able to get a provocation to be able to fully come in? But even if they do, no one wants to be conscripted.
With what? Alex, with what?
I agree. I'm about to say they're trying to bring.
They can join this war with fucking what? They cannot even deal with Iran. So now Donald Trump is raising hell to the Ministry of War, used to be Minister of Defense, because there is not enough missiles to complete the job. Patriots, none. Long-range missiles, not enough. So, oh, yeah, just forgot. Zelensky was willing to help to protect Arab world from Iranian missiles. Succeeded? Look at Kiev. He cannot protect his own capital. But even there is one drone that is hitting Russian refinery, the whole world is saying, oh, Russia is losing. When the whole Kiev is on fire, the world is saying, oh, that's awful. How come? Stupid.
So Vladimir,
Israelis are killing Palestinians in quantity. No regret, nothing, no sanctions. As if it's, I don't know what's happening with people nowadays. What's happening with this world? How come that they can applaud to kids being killed and no one pays attention?
Well, that brings us to the issue of Israel being supportive, clearly giving Ukraine intelligence on Iranian ships they sunk. And what is your view on what Israel's become under Netanyahu? I know you've never been anti-Israel. You're Jewish yourself. But
my big problem being Jewish, to explain to my friends that not all Jewish are Israelis and not all Israelis are Jewish. So now we Jews of this world have to pay the price for Netanyahu policy that is against of what I believe in. I cannot basically understand how my people that came through all the tragedy of Holocaust, stating that, oh, by the way, if we went through this, that means that we have a right to commit this act of genocide, has been told by a couple of few very important political leaders of this world. What happened with us? How come that we can say that, oh, this is Jewish baby, so his life is sacred, and this is Arab baby, you have to kill them? That's not what I believe in. That's not what Judaism is about. That is so far from actual standards of our beliefs. And I just foresee an awful future. Even now in the United States, look who is winning primaries inside Democratic Party. People who are against Israel. Can you imagine something like this a few years ago? No. But Israel is not willing to listen. And it's scary. And it's wrong. It is very wrong. You cannot destroy the whole world and live on the face of this world only a few millions of Jewish people. That's not how it works. Not at all.
Vladimir, we got to go to break. Vladimir, stay right there. Vladimir,
break is always good.
And I know this is powerful. I want to talk about the different players, what we can do as citizens of America, of Russia, of Israel, everywhere, and just stop the madness. We're in a new world war. It's escalating up the ladder. People ask why I'm so concerned, why I'm angry, why I call for Trump's impeachment and or removal on the 25th Amendment, because he's going to get us all killed. He's not in control. We have to point that out when we come back. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Bigley has launched an online pharmacy, 1776rx.health. It's one product we're launching with, my decision, and that is ivermectin with benzidol, both powerful, really good anti-parasitics. It doesn't just get the big worms and all the crap that's out there. It's amoebas, it's microplasms. It is so important. These two together, I mean, ivermectin is a Nobel Prize winning for this, but benzidol is the big one. And folks, it isn't just parasites. Just search benzidol studies. Just put that into a search engine and you'll see congressional hearings, you'll see top scientists, you'll see all the studies on what else it does that they don't want you to know about. It's dramatic. So, and you won't know if you had any type of parasitical deal or whatever until you've done this. And a lot of people went there yesterday. A lot of people got it. Very smart move. 1776rx.health. They called me crazy. They called me paranoid. But now they know I was right. Tonight, more conspiracies that turned out to be true on this episode of I Fucking Told You So.
Reality starts here. AlexJonesLive.com. Share the link. Spread the word.
A I think this is my favorite Alex Jones shirt. Dude, I totally agree.
Founding Fathers on patrol. Washington and Lincoln rocking the latest Alex Jones shirt, marching past America's monuments. Liberty is awake. Visit thealexjonesstore.com now.
Vladimir Solovyov is our guest for another 25 minutes, and he's giving you the Russian perspective on all of this. I have to say I agree with about 99% of what he's saying, and I can follow it all because I follow this daily from our news, foreign news, reports, raw reports. But it's so easy to know the truth that there's been a long, multi-decade-long project to encroach on Russia's borders. Every time a country votes to be even neutral, NATO and the EU back an overthrow. They arrest the leaders. Hungary, Romania, they manipulate everywhere, over and over and over again. And then domestically, if you don't support the police state or you don't support the wars, you get called a Russian agent. And then I'm just sitting here, an agent of truth, saying that if Russia was encircling us and was in the Caribbean and was in Canada putting nuclear-capable missiles on our border that could take out our missile fields, I'd say, blow those up. And they're not even doing that because they know NATO wants to go to full war, which he said earlier, we're about to finish each other's sentences, not because we scripted this, because it's the truth. I said, you have the crazy unelected EU commission, the parliament ceremonial. It's all out of a trade deal, 56, Treaty of Rome, literally saying, all their finance ministers, their defense ministers, the head of NATO, saying, oh, we might just sneak attack Russia with nukes. Oh, we're going to put a bunch of missiles on their border. And then Putin said 2 years ago, if we see a major aeronautical assault of a bunch of these missiles, they can be nuclear tipped, the ATACMS and the rest of it, we'll have to launch a nuclear war because we don't know if that's a nuclear attack. So they're shooting missiles that are normally nuclear tipped, conventional, into Russia, messing with them, so that when they do actually fire nukes that NATO says they may do first, that was 2 years ago, talk about a provocation, the Russians don't know they're nuclear tipped or not, trying to get Russia to respond into a NATO country. These provocations are a 10 out of a 10, folks, okay? We would never put up with this. So you bet I'm energetic. You bet I'm pissed off at the people that have hijacked our country because they're going to get us all killed. Then you've got Netanyahu, who faces prison, running around foaming at the mouth. He stood down on October 7th. They were funding Hamas. And then now he says it's ideal that we're fighting the war for them. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. It's killing the world economy. We're going to lose the midterms. It is a total disaster. And as Vladimir said earlier, you now have the red-green alliance of the Islamicists, who I don't support in the final equation, with the communists. And they are openly, their platform is destroy Israel, which I don't want Israel destroyed, but now in the position, Israel is so villainous with its leadership that it's the most unpopular country in the world, and everything is flipped, and then Israel says, the leaders, we don't care, we're rolling the dice to full war, we're on the U.S. side, everybody else is Hitler, and they're going to just press this and see what happens. Chutzpah to the 1000th degree. Vladimir, do you agree with that statement, and how do we extricate ourselves? How do we put the brakes on this runaway train?
Alex, I think that what we see right now is the terminal phase of cancer. And that's why you're getting so emotional. And I'm not. Because you still think that something can be done. And I'm pretty much sure that probably nothing can be done. You see, can I say, Alex, it's important when I see my friend. I just, first of all, I want to tell you, Alex, can we make this split
yes, sir. We'll do split
monitor so I can see Alex? Yeah. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm an admirer of yours. I think that you're incredibly professional, and the way you prepare yourself to every single show of yours is incredible. And then I have to tell you that you are extremely brave, that you put all your life serving United States of America and its people, the truth. Not presidents, not political parties, people. And that's why you're taking it so personally, because you grew up with this genuine belief in the greatness of America and American people that can always fulfill their dream. At the same time, I have to disappoint you. Your dream has been stolen from you, from your generation, and generations before. Back in the 30s, when they established BIS, they started basically doing the same stuff that they did with this financial system of yours. The same stuff. Absolutely. Now, we think that we run our own countries by electing people. In reality, those little bankers, they had our money, they had our countries. They were always doing whatever they wanted to, being absolutely without any form of control. Then on the base of this money, they created new forms of controlling and ruling. They are behind every single dictator who came into power. They made it possible for dictators all over the world to destroy people of the countries, starting with Hitler and all the way down to the ugliest dictatorships in Africa. And now you have beef with Trump. I like Donald Trump. He's not my president. I'm not an American citizen. I don't have to vote for him. But I look at what he is saying, and I'm just expecting him to put his, put your money where your mouth is. I just want him to destroy the Washington swamp. I just want him finally to do what he promised, and he's always keeping his promises, as I've been told. Give power back to the American people. Destroy those, call them any name you want, those liars that have stolen power from American people and that drag them into war they have no interest in. Quite some time ago, they grabbed this leader of Venezuela and his wife. What's happening with them now? On what reasons? They just kidnapped this gentleman, or whomever he is, and his wife. And now no one is even remembering the names. Maduro, no one is willing to discuss it. It's okay. Why? Because we succeeded. And then they decided to do the same stuff with Iran, and it didn't work. And now, when you destroyed Americans, destroyed spiritual, religious leader of Shia, and you start telling them, oh, come on, guys, nothing personal, let's just have a deal. What deal? There is no deal on the table. There cannot be any deal. And doesn't matter what kind of discussions you're having right now. They will never forget and they will never forgive. It's the same as killing the Pope of Rome and telling Catholics, oh, come on, guys, not big deal, get yourself yet another Pope. That's not how it works. And mass media of the United States is trying to say that people, you are stupid, listen to us. And only people like you and a few others, they are putting their life on the front line. They've been threatened. Every day they're facing enormous hardships of bringing truth to the American people. Look now, here's this motherfucking doctor who killed an enormous amount of Americans. And he was pardoned. And even now he's not willing to tell the truth to the American people. Fauci, or whatever his name is. Can you imagine how many of those motherfuckers have been ruining life of ordinary Americans? Stealing the money, completely destroying the future. Bringing sorrow and hardships for hardworking, God-loving people of the United States of America. I've never ever met in my life ordinary Americans who are interested in fighting any war with Russia. I spent quite some time in America, and whenever I went, I always been welcomed with very warm attitude. Whenever I needed help, I got this help. But when you look at what kind of stupidity they pronounce at Congress and Senate, it's amazing. Who are those people? How did they get there? It's just amazing.
Well, Vladimir, let me just be clear.
Ever, not all of them. Yeah, go ahead.
But let me be clear. I'm not saying you said I was naive, but I'm not naive about the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and the globalists and the bankers using us as pawns. And I think you hit the key, though. They are insulated, this global collection of scum, from repercussions. They never feel the pain of what they've caused. The good news is COVID miscalculated. Now they have the lowest approval rating ever. People do see them more and more, but they don't know how to stop because they have a normalcy bias, and now they have started all these wars that they're losing, and so it's coming to a head. And we do have good people at the Pentagon. The top generals leaked that we're out of missiles. The top generals leaked. They told Trump, don't attack Iran 160-something days ago before it happened. And so I talked to some of these people. I'll just stop there. I talked to them when they were in high positions, ones that have been removed.
And no one wanted to listen to them. No one wanted to listen to them.
I was about to say, that was my next point. The ones that got removed who were proven right, you still get demonized, and the ones that lie to Trump and the ones that have tried to undermine him and attack him before, he then loves them, and it's bizarre. And I think Trump's brain is going. And when you ask, you say you like Trump. Yeah, I don't think Trump is a bad person, but the Trump at 80 is not the same Trump that was at 75. And I'm seriously, well, I mean, you say terminal cancer. Okay, I'm not in the denial phase that we could have terminal cancer. I'm not in the bargaining phase. I understand that this isn't a person that dies and then you have a new generation. If this cancer carries out to full nuclear war, it's the end of civilization. And so I feel like we must try to stop it.
That's the worst thing. Man, unfortunately, nuclear war won't solve any problems. You see, that's the thing. Our generation, we grew up with this understanding that nuclear war going to destroy this world. In reality, it won't. And that's the most scary thing.
But it'll make it a living road warrior hell, and it'll kill billions of people.
I don't know. It's like Mad Max movie. But we're already living in this Mad Max movie on the front line. It's so... after Chernobyl and after this nuclear plant catastrophe in Japan, they suddenly realized that the world is still there. They're not afraid to use nuclear weapons.
Well, you're smart.
And I'm pretty much sure that quite soon we'll see nukes being used against Iran.
I was about to say that they're now legitimizing the use of nukes, and the Russians are starting to say, okay, yeah, let's go ahead. So you're absolutely right. The sickeningness is the establishment is saying nukes are on the table, so Russia says, fine, they're on the table. Everybody then loads up, puts their fingers on the button, and I think I agree with you, and I said this last week. I said I said last week, I said, it is now a probability we're going to have a full nuclear war. That means more than a 50% chance. What do you say to that statement?
You're absolutely right. Enola Gay 81 years ago. And what happened? Nothing. Amount of people that were killed during this nuke explosion in Hiroshima was less than amount of people that had been killed during bombarding of Tokyo a few months before.
Firebombing, yeah.
Nowadays, Japanese are saying that, there is a nuclear bomb, but we won't say who actually dropped it. Americans are saying that it's historians, that it was perfectly legit because that saved American lives. And Japanese, who cares about Japanese? Come on, that's their own problem. The same gonna happen now. Americans started this war against Iran by killing 168 Iranian girls. That was Palantir doing this. And it was not a mistake. They thought that by this way, they will break the spirit of Iranian people. That's how they see it. That's why they're willing to kill Russian girls and Russian women. They think that will break us. They do not understand our psychology. But the worst thing is that quite soon nuclear bombs will be just yet another weapon used by everyone, because it's not that modern technology. This technology is 80 plus years old. It's not difficult to make a nuclear bomb. Everyone will have it quite soon. It will be yet another weapon. And that's when the hell will start. Because then it will be never-ending war.
Bioweapons.
Never-ending war.
And there's all sorts of Well, the Air Force theoretically has built antimatter weapons. You know, the Russians have as well, and then the theoretics are all there. I mean, once you open this Pandora's box, you have the head science czar saying we control time and space now. But if you look at the size of Hiroshima and Nagasaki compared to the big ones now, it's next level. But you're right. The Russians lost what? 26 million people. The Germans, 24 million.
We're saying 27.
And so both my grandfathers were in World War II, and almost died in the Army Air Corps. But still, that was not even 6-7% of the losses by the other allies. So as much as we hear about our history in the Pacific and Iwo Jima and all of that stuff, comparatively, really World War II was the Russians and the Germans toe-to-toe. And that's a very recent memory for you, losing what percentage of your population?
Well, man, we had every family has family member that been killed during this war. In the Red Army, we had 32.5 million people. It's 24.5% of the population. In Belarus, every third has been killed. That's why the war that we're fighting right now, and that's what in America they do not understand, because they're trying not to see it, but you know exactly what we feel. We're fighting still the Second World War, because we're fighting Ukrainian Nazis that are supported by German Nazis. But the big question that I'm raising is, who is running the show nowadays? In Russia, we elect our president. In Germany, no way. Chancellor, no one elects. In the United Kingdom, no way. So where is people power?
But by the way, that's all true.
Where's democracy?
In Germany, the chancellor and president got elected with less than 20% of the vote. Starmer got elected with less than 20%. Same thing with Carney in Canada. It's parliamentary fraud.
Chancellor is not elected directly.
Yeah.
He's nominated by the party. People are voting for the party.
Yes.
The same in the United Kingdom. The person who became prime minister.
But I'm saying even their parties got
exactly
20%.
Exactly. So if we want something to be done in this world, we have to give power back to the people. That's what
I can tell you, U.S. and European polls. Hold on. You said earlier, over 80% in European and U.S. polls are against this war with Russia and Iran. I mean, almost no one wants this, but you prove it. We're still doing it. How are we in a war? They didn't even try to sell us this war with Iran. They just did it.
Why are you saying that no one needs this war? Everyone is willing this war to go on. Because Europe nowadays, they're making money from military-industrial complex, not the people, but politicians. They all need this war, because finally German spirit is rising back. Now they can get even with Russians and destroy them and pay back for the humiliation of losing the war. Look at them. Now they're proud of their Nazi roots. Look at this little French motherfucker, the Macron, who is trying to say that we have to take Russia into account for everything. Look at them. Who are they? They are not representing their people. They are not legit, should I say. They need yet another war. That's the only way they can get back European Reich.
Yeah, no, they say they're going to collapse if they don't do it. Talk about biting off more than you can chew. Exactly. Remember 2 years ago when they gave a standing ovation to an actual SS officer who commanded killing 3,000 people at once, putting them into graves in Ukraine, and then they get up and they say, he fought Russians in World War II, and the whole parliament collapsed as if they didn't know Russia fought the Nazis in World War II. No, they knew. They are literally rubbing it in our faces. These people are insane.
No, they're just Canadians. They're not insane. And with all due respect to ice hockey heroes, but Canada became home for a lot of Bandera criminals.
Yeah, the deputy prime minister is a Ukrainian. Her grandfather ran the Nazi propaganda in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, but MI6, you had this lady. She came from the ugly family story of Nazi criminal. The guy who runs Palantir in United Kingdom. He is the grandson of the top-notch British Nazi. Those guys, they love their grandfathers. And they cherish their family history. Man, let's imagine for a second, if God, just for a few seconds, will look at this world, what kind of decision will he make? Are we worthy living as a humanity? Or we completely disappoint our Creator? What kind of world is there when people have to come up with enormously anti-Christian, anti-Muslim, anti-Jewish ideas? When men is stating that, oh, I can join women's sport, and when people are saying that, come on, we have to protect ladies in women's sport, they just willing to destroy them.
And that was my next question. We're almost out of time, and I really appreciate your time. Tucker Carlson's been targeted for particular destruction because he doesn't want everybody to die. And he talks about how the State Department funds global homo and targets Eastern Europe and Russia with it. They target our kids with it. They say that's Russian propaganda. No, they've spent hundreds of billions pumping out anti-family crap, and then they claim because Russia has halfway thrown the pedo demon off your back, that somehow it's Russian propaganda that when we speak out against it. What do you say about global homo and its goal?
There is an exact date when countries decided that they're no longer Christian countries. That's the date when the parliaments voted for homosexual marriages. It's either or. Either you're Christian or you believe in homosexual marriages. So Europe is no longer Christian. America? I don't know. But when British scientists 2 days ago came up with a great plan that in order for humanity to prosper, it has to reduce amount of people living on half. Tell me that it's not Satanism, the purest form. The purest form. Homosexuality is obviously not just a free choice now. Not at all. It's a toy in devil's hands. It's a toy of destruction of humanity. You have to admit it. It's either or.
Well, there's no doubt as soon as homosexual marriage passed, the dam broke and they said, now we want your children, and they just totally exploded. And you're right. If we don't have 2.1 children for every 2 adults, society collapses. And all these governments say cut it in half. It turns out the heads of Google, all of them are anti-family. They're anti-natalist. And they literally just want to kill people in general. So you asked earlier who runs it, who's at the top. You just said it. It's Satan. Vladimir, it's Satan.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right, my friend. So are you Russian propaganda? What kind of people can even come up with something as stupid as that? Jesus, what century are they living in? It's amazing. It's amazing. They should get some new tunes. The old ones are not working anymore.
Well, do you have any hope that we can survive this cancer? Because you're still on the air. I should have you back on. I know you got to go. You got stuff going on. But you need to tell some of your frontline battle stories. I mean, you spend, what, half your time in the front?
Anytime. I sure will.
Okay.
Every week. Every week. But we'll do it next time. So there are a lot of stories because I see that we're running out of time.
Come on whenever you want, because I'd love to do an hour about what you've witnessed, what's really happening on the battlefield.
We'll do that. Thank you, man. We'll set a time and date, and we'll get our listeners to be older and viewers.
Well, we better do it before the nuclear...
all sign up for Alex Jones.
We better do it, the interview quick before we all die in nuclear hellfire. Hurry up. All right, Vladimir, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Wow. All right, hour number 4 straight ahead. Wow, that was rap power. That guy's smart.